This is the Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show. It's a show full of informative chat and inspirational messages. The Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show on podcast. Okay, we're back on the Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show. Today I have two guests, Michelle and Karina. Both of them have brain tumours. They both have an optic nerve glioma.
Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
Doing well.
Should we go back if Michelle, you tell us first about when you were diagnosed?
Yeah, so I started noticing some symptoms actually December 2021. And I already I wear glasses and I already have bad eyesight. So I noticed it more in my left eye. Like my left eye is very blurry. So I went to the doctor and he basically brushed it off and said, one eye is going to be worse. And then a couple months later, I went back again and they said the same thing. Don't worry, one eye is going to be worse. And I'm telling them it's significantly worse. I had color loss, I had extreme blurriness. So I went to get a second opinion in April 2022. From there, he said, I'm going to test your eye to shine a light in your pupil. And my pupil didn't react in my left eye. So I was told that day to go to Bascom Palmer in Miami, Florida. And when I got there, the wait was at least 8 hours since I got there, 8 to 9 hours since I stepped in there until I left.
Oh no.
It was about 1 a.m. and they said, we did find something, but you're going to have to come back the next morning. So I came back the next morning and they found a lesion, which was diagnosed as an optic nerve glioma. And they just said, let's monitor it for now. It's very slow growing, so everything should be pretty much stable.
How did you feel when you heard that? Was that a complete shock, or did you think, I know there's something wrong?
I'm a hypochondriac. I think the littlest thing could blow out in proportions. Of course, I was thinking the worst, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I just have blurry vision. It's not that big of a deal. And then people were telling me a brain tumor, it's very unlikely, especially in adults. So I was like, okay, it's probably not going to be anything. And when they first diagnosed me, I was with my mom and everything, the world went dark and everything was silent. And it's that moment where you least expect it. You never think that is going to happen to you. And that has been one of my fears forever, just a brain tumor, because it sounds really scary.
Yeah.
And then in that moment, it's like you have to deal with it. There's no other option. You have to now deal with it. This is what I have. How do I move forward?
How long did you have to wait until they said we're going to do treatment, or is it that they couldn't touch it and it was a watch and wait?
Yeah. So when they first diagnosed me in April, they told me to just wait. And they said, let's not do a biopsy. So they said it's not supposed to grow. It's very slow growing. And the follow up was have an MRI every 2 months. So I had one in 2 months and it grew. So that was very unexpected and everything moved very fast after that MRI report. So I had a few options I was working with a neuro oncologist at the time. My options were radiation, immunotherapy, and chemo, or a combination of all three, which is what they were pushing for. I wanted to get different opinions because this diagnosis is so rare that the treatment is experimental. They don't know the best thing that will work. But I found a radiation oncologist in Delray Beach, Dr. Williams, at the South Florida Proton Institute, and he has treated these for years, for tens of years. And he said the textbook way to treat this is proton beam radiation. And I stuck with his opinion and thought that was best for me. And I did proton beam radiation from October 2022 to November 2022. So 6 weeks every single day, I had to have radiation. And since then, my the the tumor, not mine, the tumor is stable, but there has been a series of side effects and mental battles that Karina and I console each other in almost every day.
What age were you?
Yeah. I
Uh-huh.
noticed it when I was 25 and then I was officially diagnosed when I was 26.
Yeah. Are you the same age, Karina?
No, I was 24. So I'm 26 now. I was 24 when we found it.
Karina, how was it when you were originally diagnosed? Was it really similar, or do you have a different story?
Actually, it was similar.
Mhm.
So since we live near each other we didn't know this to begin with, but we went through the same process. For me, I woke up with blurry vision in October of 2021 in one eye. And for me, I've always had perfect vision. So I just thought I had like pink eye or some sort of infection. Like I just brushed it off. And then eventually I noticed I was at the office and I couldn't read like I used to. So I started looking up healthy remedies to strengthen your eyesight and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to the optometrist. I'm just going to go get my eye checked. And he mentioned, like when I went, he was just like, you need to go see a neuro optometrist. There's something behind your eye that I can't see. It's not your vision. So it could be a tumor or it could be something cardio. And I was like, what? I was by myself just going to get a checkup and I was not expecting that at all because I had perfect sight before that. So long story short, I went to the beach, I prayed, and then I came back home and I told everyone and we started looking up what clinic or where to go. And we found Bascom Palmer. And then it was the same from there where I waited 8 to 9 hours in the emergency room. They said they found something in the MRI and to come back the next morning. And yeah, treatment went on from there. I wasn't formally diagnosed until, so mind you, I went through all of this October 2021. I wasn't formally diagnosed till February 2022.
Mm.
So I went months without knowing what was going on or what this was. I underwent a biopsy that actually worsened my vision. So now I have no peripheral vision at all. I'm blind basically in my right eye. So that was a acute onset, a very sudden adjustment for me.
Did you get to use the proton beam?
Actually, no, I chose a different route. So I was given the same options, the radiation. I think chemo was one of the radiate options, as well as surgery was actually like the very last option. That's last resort. And then they also mentioned immunotherapy, targeted immunotherapy, which they say is like a form of chemo because like you go for infusions, but it's not chemo. I went on Keytruda and Avastin, and I would go once a month to get my infusions and see if it would shrink. So I would go every so often to get a scan and monitor it. And mine was pretty stable. So that's the reason I didn't go the radiation route was because we saw no growth. So it wasn't really, I wouldn't say an urgency, but I wanted to try a different route that I knew could leave my body. Like my doctor informed me that after a few months, when you're off the drug, it leaves your body. So it won't stay in there forever. So that kind of made me feel a little bit better. However, I did have a really bad allergic reaction to, or just a side effect from the drugs. And I was hospitalized for about 11 days from a gastrointestinal issue that I'm just now recovering from 6 months later. That was a shock and an eye opener for me in this journey. So, since then, my sight did get a little bit blurry. So, we did have a little scare of what should we do next. And I saw another doctor and he recommended me go back on another targeted immunotherapy, and I declined for now. I just want to just sit and wait and watch it. I went back for a scan and it did show that it's been stable and there was no growth and that it probably was just inflamed, which is said to happen throughout the years. So it was nothing in my doctor's opinion. So I just chose to just decline treatment at this time and just monitor it.
Have you had your own decisions? It hasn't been pushed on you. You've sat down and you've thought, which one do I want? Or did it happen so fast you didn't have a chance to? For you, Michelle, did you have a chance to do some research, or you were just going to go with what I'm told?
I think it was a combination of both. It did happen really fast, but they do leave it up to you. Like Karina said, surgery is the last option, which would leave us completely blind with a lot of unknowns what would happen to our actual eye, the movement, all of that. So they say when I first got diagnosed, oh, when it gets worse, maybe you could look to surgery. And then different doctors give you different options. So we had to take everything into our own hands with the support of our doctors leading us in the right way. But I think it was ultimately up to us, which felt good and bad. I wish
Mm.
we weren't pushed completely into something, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And we feel like that shouldn't be up to us completely. But after research and a lot of unknown evidence about chemo with radiation, a combination, I found a doctor with evidence of radiation working, and that's what made me feel comfortable.
Where are you at the moment, Michelle, with your treatments? Are you having something at the moment?
I finished almost a year ago. I finished completely. I finished on November 18th, irradiation. And since then, I've been having MRIs every 3 months, but it's been really hard with different symptoms and eye pain and my eye looking bigger and numbness and tingling and just a combination of a lot of weird symptoms that I've just been to so many doctors about. And I've had MRIs of my entire spine. I've gone to so many different specialty doctors, and there really isn't anything. And at the end of the day, that's the best answer. And things just subsided, and the symptoms are pretty much stable right now. My eye is stable. The MRI report shows no growth, stability, and they said that it is expected to regress over years.
Are
So
you?
that's where I currently am, and I'm very happy with that
Yeah,
outcome.
that gives you quite a bit of confidence. They've said that. That must be quite like, okay, good. It's not going to get worse than it's got.
Exactly. And now my MRIs are now every 6 months instead of 3.
Oh, that's really good because it's like it goes on. It feels such
Absolutely.
a disaster when you're going through it, but actually, you're obviously coming through the other side. It's nice that you've got each other to do this. Katrina, then what happened
So
for you in terms of now? How are you?
Almost similar. I'm at a 6-month watch. So every 6 months, I'm going in for my MRI and to see the neuro-ophthalmologist. Yeah, so I'm pretty stable as well. And yeah, like Michelle said, we talk almost every day. And we just go between regular day life and just brain tumor talk. But we'll share symptoms that we might have. For me, I don't really notice many symptoms, maybe just it feeling a little sore, my eye feeling a little sore or swollen. Sometimes I'll see, like the other day, I saw a flash of light. My phone went off and I saw a flash of light in my peripheral. And I was like, whoa, like I saw it. Like I tapped my boyfriend and I was like, I just saw the light. So I'm just noticing little things and sharing it and just being open and just monitoring it is where I'm at right now.
Yeah. It is hard when you haven't got the peripheral, but then I know what you're talking about because occasionally I'll see something I don't know how I saw it because I can't see there, but I'm like, I
Yeah.
saw that. I saw
Yeah.
something and I'm like,
And
is it coming back? And I
oh
right.
have
my gosh.
no idea.
That it literally happened yesterday to me, and it's funny you mentioned that because I had to get into safer car as well, and I had to find a car that had a blind spot monitor that beeps when I change lanes because I can't see out of the eye, and
Yeah. So it will take us back then to when you started this page.
just going over different obstacles and hurdles has been a challenge, but I'm really lucky to have Michelle and also a few other individuals we were able to make connections with through, funny enough, TikTok. We were able to find about 5 other females across the world, actually, one from Nepal, one from Germany, who share the same diagnosis as we do. So that's what called us to get together and create this page and start talking about it.
Yeah.
I found Karina actually on TikTok, not knowing where she was. After I got diagnosed, I have never even heard of an optic nerve glioma. I had no idea what that was. And I'm not the one to go and research stuff because every time I research something, I get even more scared. But I looked it up on TikTok and it was frightening. But then I saw one video of Karina making like a funny video of losing eyesight and not being able to see her underarm when she's shaving, and that's exactly what I was struggling with too. And she had tagged it optic nerve glioma, so I messaged her and we were chatting, and she had the same thing as me, same experience, and she went to Bascom Palmer as well. So I was asking, "Where do you live?" And she told me where she lived, and it's 15 minutes away from me. I promise you. And the odds. I don't know exactly the statistics, but just to give you a perspective, we have only met a handful of other people who've had it, and they live in other countries. And we have not found anyone else that lives even close to us. And the fact that we're so close in age.
Do you know, when was the first time you met up?
It's funny how we met. We talked, and Karina she didn't believe it. She thought it was like a scammer or something, because I'm telling you, the chances of that happening, it's almost
Mm,
non-existent. That's how we know it's from God.
yeah.
Surprisingly, before we started our treatment, we did IVF at this same exact time. I think we were a couple of days apart from getting our procedure done. And we were doing our injections, and she needed a couple extra. And that was the first time we actually met. I donated the rest of my injections to her. And that was the first time we met each other.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's
It
amazing.
was like a
So,
free yeah, it was
yeah.
like really it was really nerve-wracking because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I need these injections. I have extra. Can you meet me?" And it was like really brief and really like in a hurry. But when we met, I don't know if you felt the same, Michelle. It was like a sigh of relief, like just a
Yeah.
weight off our shoulders.
Because we had no one else that was going through what we were going through. And it was so similar. And we went through it all together. That was before we started both of our treatment journeys. And now we're both on that stable. That's a good word, by the way, stable. So we just realized we didn't just meet randomly. This is our calling. This is our testimony, and we have to share our story. We can't be quiet about it. And the best way to do that is social media, just like you're doing, Claire. And we want to start this page so other people can find us who have this diagnosis, and not just optic nerve gliomas, but brain tumors or any quote unquote cancer that you just feel alone. And if it's through Jesus, if it's through whatever that makes anyone find us, then we have open arms. We will start off by sharing our story, and hopefully people will reach out so we can share their story and just see where it goes from there.
Did you find there was loads of people, or actually people sort of
No.
stood back and didn't know what to say?
Yep. So, as far as finding other people who have similar stories, it's been a handful and they've been trickling in throughout the year. So, even like a few weeks ago, I think at least 3 weeks ago, I just got a message on TikTok of someone who found me on TikTok and has the same journey as we do. So, it's been coming in slowly but surely as far as connecting with people who do share the same diagnosis. I advocate for the Hidden Disability Sunflower Program. When I went to a conference, also I sit on the Council for the Disability Rights of Florida. And I went to a networking event and I was able to actually sit down at a table with just someone across the nation. And her daughter just so happened to have sudden vision loss from a different diagnosis. And just because I shared that, actually, she shared it first. And I was like, wait, me too. So, like, just speaking up when you feel called to, it's not for everybody, but if you feel called to, just definitely speak up or lean on your support, your team, or ask for that help.
I would say when this happens, you think, why me? Why this happened to me? Why am I unlucky? Why are bad things happening to me? And instead of having that mindset, just say like, why me? Why is this happening to me? And how can I make a goodness out of this?
What would you want people to know?
I would say just that you are not alone, that there is, even when you think there's no one going through the same thing as you, there is. And just to keep searching until you find that. And that's why we want to have our page for that person. I felt and Karina felt when you feel like there's no one else going through what I'm going through, that it does exist. And to get through something like this, like a diagnosis and not knowing which option to choose best, you don't have to do it alone. It's, I think, believing in something, no matter what that is, and getting your strength from another source will absolutely help you. And when I went through radiation every day on the radiation table, I prayed, I recited the armor of God, and I had a peace that I couldn't even explain. And just believing in something got me through it.
Mm.
And it will really help.
For me, my main thing has been definitely to stand in your faith, although sometimes some days might be harder than others. But Also to really just listen to your body, and go based off how you're feeling. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to you going off your gut feeling. So that's been one big takeaway for me. Also, the world never stops. Things don't stop. People don't stop. Life doesn't stop. So that's been helpful for me to keep my mind on and stuff like that. Yeah. One thing I
Yeah.
like to say is if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And I often have to tell myself that. So
Oh,
that helps.
no, I get it. I trip over things because of my eyes. I trip over kids. I tripped over a kid once and I
Aw.
thought, he cried because I flipped over.
Oh,
And I thought, now I can sit here and cry because I'm so embarrassed and so sorry to this child. Or I
mhm.
can say, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, laugh it off.
Yeah. I literally I whacked someone in the face the other day. I turned around and I was pointing and I accidentally hit her in the throat. And I was like, oh my gosh. Luckily, she was like really cool about it. But sometimes I just have to laugh it off because what can you do?
I know, yeah, you can just feel really sorry for yourself and feel like an idiot. And you're like, it's not like I can
Yeah.
help it.
I would say didn't always have a positive mindset. I have really bad anxiety and hypochondria, so there were a lot of dark days. But I always thought you could go either way about it. You could stay in the dark or you can be grateful for what you do have and use the dark times to make something light out of it.
I think it's
Yes, thank you,
nice
Claire.
because you're the same age as I was when this happens. And I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't share it with anybody. But I never met anybody my age. And I felt such an outcast.
I was thinking the other day because like I've been really getting into like healing, like red light therapy and like salt baths, the float tanks and stuff like that. Just anything that can reduce inflammation and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, I really traded in the clubs for like
Mhm.
salt caves and float tanks and all that stuff. And I'm not mad at it. I'm happy. Of course, we have our moments where we like to have our fun and go out and have a drink or two. But definitely, we've been focused on our health, and I'm very grateful for that. At the end of the day.
Yeah. Let's just mention
Great.
your Instagram. And I don't know how to say it. So I'm guessing it's ONG is because of the optic nerve glioma. So it's ONG awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they call it at the doctor. ONG for little short optic nerve glioma.
Oh, okay. I was a bit like OMG, but it's not.
Yeah, I thought that too. Like how we can make a play on words with
Yeah.
for maybe the future.
Is there anyone you want to reach out and say thank you?
Say to all the doctors. There's a handful, there's a long list of all the doctors that helped me, but my main doctor is Dr. Williams, and he's really the best down here in South Florida for proton beam. And my mom, of course, I'm an only child. She took me to radiation every single day for 6 weeks. And my boyfriend, James, we met at church about 3 weeks before I started my radiation. He stuck by me and we're still together. And I love him very much and just my whole family. And Karina, of course, I couldn't have done it without her. And I call her my soul sister. And we will be in our lives forever.
How about you?
I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but my siblings they've been my biggest rock. I'm one of three. Shout out to my mom as well for making the time while working to take me to my appointments. My dad for holding it down as well. My partner, Andre, we met a month before I had that nasty side effect, and he spent every day in the hospital with me. Michelle, of course, very thankful for that. So.
It's just so nice that you're a similar age and you've been able to come together at this time. I honestly think that's amazing. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
This is the Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show. It's a show full of informative chat and inspirational messages. The Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show on podcast.